Charlie Munger lived for nearly a century, and in those 100 years, he became one of the clearest thinkers the world has ever seen. But the real story isn't the wealth he built. It's the mind he built, a mind shaped by discipline, curiosity, and a lifelong commitment to rationality. The first thing you notice about Charlie Munger is that he didn't chase brilliance. He focused on avoiding the behaviors that reliably lead people into trouble. Then you see how slowly he formed opinions. Mr. Munger didn't collect them. He earned them. If he couldn't explain something clearly, he assumed he didn't understand it well enough. You also realize how much he valued patience, the disciplined kind, the kind that lets you wait for the right moment instead of reacting to every distraction. Mr. Munger built his worldview by studying everything: psychology, physics, biology, history. He wanted a mind that could see the whole board, focus on the whole game. And the deeper you look, the more obvious it becomes that Charlie's edge wasn't complexity, it was simplicity. Charlie Munger was born in Omaha in 1924. His family wasn't wealthy, but they weren't broken either. They lived in a world where every dollar had a job, and every decision mattered. Charlie grew up watching adults make careful choices, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. His father was a lawyer. His mother was disciplined, sharp, and demanding in the best way. Their home wasn't loud or chaotic. It was structured. Expectations were clear. Charlie learned early that life rewards people who can think clearly under pressure. As a boy, Charlie worked at Buffett's grandfather's grocery store, the same store where Warren Buffett would later work. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't inspiring. But it taught him something he carried for the next 100 years. Most progress comes from doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. He stocked shelves. He swept floors. He watched customers stretch pennies into meals. And without realizing it, he was learning the foundation of his worldview. That money is a tool, not a trophy, and that discipline matters more than brilliance. Those years taught him something most people never learn. When the world becomes chaotic, the advantage goes to the person who stays level-headed. That lesson didn't fade. It became the backbone of his thinking for the next century. Before investing, Charlie Munger studied meteorology at Caltech, served in the U.S. Army Air Corps, and became a Harvard-trained lawyer. He didn't follow a straight line. He followed curiosity. And that curiosity became the engine of his entire life. Eventually, Charlie Munger realized law wasn't the game he wanted to play. He wanted a game where insight mattered more than hours worked, a game where patience was rewarded, a game where rationality was an advantage. That game was investing. Mr. Munger built what he called a latticework of mental models. He studied psychology to understand behavior, physics to understand cause and effect, biology to understand systems, history to understand cycles. He refused to think in straight lines. He wanted a mind that could approach problems from every angle. And here's the key. Charlie didn't use these models to be clever. He used them to avoid disaster. He believed the fastest way to succeed was to avoid the things that reliably destroy people: envy, arrogance, impatience, and self-deception. When Charlie met Warren Buffett, something rare happened. Two minds built on discipline, patience, and rationality recognized each other instantly. They didn't become partners overnight. They became aligned thinkers first. Warren once said that Charlie expanded his horizons, and that wasn't flattery. It was the truth. Charlie challenged Warren in a way almost no one else could. Warren had built his career buying cigar butts, cheap companies with one last puff of value. Charlie pushed him to stop looking for scraps and start looking for excellence. Buy great businesses at fair prices, he said, not fair businesses at great prices. Berkshire Hathaway stopped being a graveyard for dying companies and became a home for durable,
high-quality businesses. It wasn't a strategy built on excitement. It was built on clarity, the kind Charlie valued above all else. Charlie didn't just influence Warren's investing. He influenced his thinking. He brought psychology, incentives, and human behavior into the conversation. He helped Warren see that markets aren't just numbers, they're people, driven by fear, greed, and impatience. And Warren wasn't shy about giving Charlie credit. He said, "Charlie has the best 30-second mind in the world." He meant that Charlie could take a complex problem, strip away the noise, and get to the truth faster than anyone he'd ever met. Their partnership wasn't built on ego. It wasn't built on competition. It was built on mutual respect and a shared belief that clear thinking is the ultimate advantage. Together, they created one of the most successful business partnerships in history. Not because they agreed on everything, but because they sharpened each other.
Charlie didn't believe in owning dozens of mediocre stocks. He believed in a handful of great ones. The idea that you're safer owning 50 stocks instead of 3 is insane. "I'd rather be in my best ideas instead of my worst," he said. Charlie lived through 100 years of war, peace, inflation, bubbles, crashes, and technological revolutions. Through it all, he stayed calm. He stayed rational. He stayed Charlie. Mr. Munger believed the world is full of people trying to be brilliant, but almost nobody trying to avoid stupidity. Avoiding stupidity is the real edge. Charlie believed in patience. He believed in waiting for the fat pitch. He believed that most of life's success comes from a handful of decisions, and the discipline to avoid everything else. He wasn't afraid to be unpopular, wasn't afraid to be blunt. He wasn't afraid to say what others avoided. His honesty wasn't harsh, it was liberating. He believed truth was a superpower. Charlie lived a life built on discipline, curiosity, and clarity. He didn't chase complexity, he removed it. He believed that if you mastered the basics, you could handle almost anything the world put in front of you. His legacy isn't defined by the companies he helped build or the wealth he accumulated. It's defined by the way he taught people to think, slowly, carefully, independently. He proved that clear thinking isn't a talent. It's a skill you earn through effort. Charlie never wanted followers. He wanted thinkers. People who could trust their own judgment, ignore the noise, and make decisions rooted in reality instead of emotion. That's why his influence stretches far beyond investing. It touches psychology, leadership, business, and everyday life. Charlie Munger passed away in 2023, just shy of his 100th birthday. But his ideas will never fade. A century of Charlie Munger leaves us with a simple truth. Success isn't reserved for geniuses. It belongs to people who stay rational when the world turns emotional, who keep their judgment steady when others lose theirs, and who have the courage to commit when they finally recognize something truly worth believing in. Thank you, Charlie Munger. You will be missed. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe to Hindsight Investing. We learn this stuff together, one smart step at a time.